Massive, impressive, majestic. Elephants, the mighty giants of the earth. We are awed by their enormous size, but often ignorant of their great intelligence, mutual affection, and deep sensitivity. Now, a nationwide controversy rages over the treatment of these noble creatures, and the battle zone is an arena traditionally considered family entertainment, the circus. Today, elephants in the circus, appreciated or abused, on Earth Rescue.
Outdoor Life Network presents Earth Rescue. Tonight, Circus of Abuse, Elephants, Trainers, and Tragedy.
Magnificent, aren't they? Hello, I'm Greg Lewis. Ask yourself what you know about elephants. They're big, they often have tusks, they do have trunks, and of course, Dumbo had ears so large it could fly. But it's time to learn something more. It's time we took a closer look at the life of circus elephants. Not just their fancy headdresses, their cute babies, and their on-stage tricks, but their life off-stage. Where they come from, where they go to, and what happens in between. These baby elephants were taken from their families in Tuli area, Botswana, in 1998. They were trucked to this warehouse in South Africa to be sold into captivity.
The Tuli elephants were absolutely brutally treated. And those elephants will all end up potentially dangerous animals. There's nothing's going to change that in their psyche.
Training involves abuse. There's no way around it. It may not be constant abuse, it may not be visible abuse, but there is abuse. Because these animals do not perform out of love, they do not perform out of need for food. They perform because they know that there's a penalty to pay, and you are the leader.
Many of the elephants with one of the largest and most well-known circuses, Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey, began their lives in the wild. They were caught before 1973, when trade in wild elephants was unregulated. According to Richard Farinato, the captured wild elephants most likely began their, quote, training with physical discipline that established the dominion of the trainer.
Since that time, however, all the elephants are either acquired from other captive bred animals or brought in from the breeding program at the Elephant Conservation Center.
So how are the baby elephants born and bred in Ringling's Conservation Center treated? In an exclusive interview with a representative of Ringling Brothers, I asked about the conditions of elephants in their circus. When you have baby elephants, at what point are they separated from their mother?
Well, they generally aren't separated from the mother. What has happened is that they get born, they spend a considerable amount of time with their mother, and then some of the young elephants have been taken on the road. Again, generally the mothers go with them.
When you say a considerable amount of time, what might that be?
I think we're looking at a couple of years, a year or so before they get put on the road. Obviously, it's like an infant. You want to get them to a size where they're healthy enough and large enough to travel.
It's been my experience that these elephants, until they're 7 years old, are still babies and need to be with their mother that entire time. If it's a female elephant, in the wild, she would stay with her mother her entire life. And if it's a male elephant, they'll stay with their mother and in the herd situation sometimes 10, 12 years.
USDA, the Department of Agriculture, which regulates all these circuses, has paperwork saying that Ringling has separated animals in such a manner that it's actually caused some wounding and some injury to the babies.
The United States Department of Agriculture, or USDA, is the federal agency responsible for licensing and regulating all groups that have exotic performing animals. On one visit, USDA inspectors documented in their report that Ringling Brothers was not in compliance with USDA regulations. The USDA issued a public statement in reference to the baby elephants being separated, saying that the elephants had experienced unnecessary trauma, behavioral stress, and physical harm and discomfort. No formal charges have been brought against Ringling. Ringling disputes the findings of the inspection report, stating that the USDA officials were not experts in elephant husbandry, and that their own experts do not agree with the USDA's opinion that there are better ways of separating and weaning young elephants. But the USDA went outside its own agency to solicit the professional opinions of 8 elephant experts. After reviewing anonymous photographs of the baby elephants, they concluded the methods revealed in the photos are outdated and did not meet Animal Welfare Act standards.
Ringling takes babies away because they need to train them and work them into the routine because babies sell. Babies are a huge draw.
Separating a baby elephant from its mother damages a calf's growth and development for the rest of its life.
They are very, very human animals. And they've just done an analysis of elephant's milk, which has the same substances as human milk, which triggers rapid growth of the brain in infancy. And I really do believe that there are animals that are on a par with humans.
Like a human infant, when a baby elephant grows up without its mother's guidance, it is not properly nurtured or socialized.
The company makes a concerted effort to socialize the elephants, to keep them working together. When they go on the road, they're essentially social groups, and so you're working very diligently to maintain the socialization among these animals because they are social animals.
Animal advocates say that within these social groups, there isn't enough variance of age. The groups are much smaller than they would be in the wild, and there are continual disruptions to the family unit, as when baby elephants are taken on the road at a much too early age. Without the larger herd, baby elephants never learn how to act like an elephant. Instead, they learn human behavior from their handlers.
They become dangerous because they're more comfortable with people. They learn aggression because they're handled with aggression. We are creating time bombs, and we see them periodically that these elephants finally will, people say they go berserk, but actually they just finally act out in the only way that they know.
What happens when elephants finally act out? Can they be dangerous to humans? When circus elephants are mishandled, it causes concern not only for the elephants, but for the attending public as well.
There's no distinction between you, the trainer, and that little kid in the baby carriage in the first row of the performance. You're both liable to get nailed when that elephant walks in the ring.
There is a controversial bill before Congress, H.R. 2929, that bans the use of elephants in circus traveling shows or elephant rides.
I became concerned when I started reading newspaper articles about people being killed and then elephants being killed in front of the public.
You've got this pending federal bill that talks about potential public safety threats, and somehow we have to protect the public from these animals in a circus performance. In over 120 years, no member of the public has ever suffered injury or been put at any significant degree of risk attending any one of Ringling Brothers' performances.
So there are never any control issues? I mean, you're talking about an animal that can weigh 4 or 5 tons that is a wild animal.
Well, no, they're not wild animals. These essentially are, these animals have now, the older ones have all been essentially in this domesticated circumstance for 3 decades. Asian elephants have been domesticated for, thousands of years throughout Asia.
What happens with domestication is that you do genetic selection to modify an animal to make it what you want it to be. None of that has been done with elephants. Elephants are as wild today, whether they're born in captivity or whether they're living in the jungles of India, as they were hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago.
1994, Honolulu. A female Circus International elephant named Tyke turned on her trainer and a circus groom, then bolted across the circus ring and out of the arena. Tyke was chased down by police and shot to death. It took more than 90 bullets to put her down. What about the incident with Tyke in Honolulu, the animal that broke free and rampaged?
Well, I note on that one, that was an African elephant that I think in our opinion, the Africans are not really subject to successful domestication, which is why Ringling has always used and continues only to use the Asian elephants.
I know of several Asian elephants that have killed people, elephants that are in circuses and performing elephants.
1992, Palm Bay, Florida. Janet, an Asian elephant with the Great American Circus, went berserk while carrying children on her back. After injuring 17 people, including a police officer, she was shot dead by police. In the last 12 years in the USA and Canada, captive Asian elephants have killed at least 12 people. There is even a well-documented incident of an Asian elephant killing a trainer at Ringling's Elephant Retirement Facility in Florida, a place called Williston. At Williston, there was an elephant trainer who was crushed by an elephant. If this is a domesticated animal in a happy circumstance.
Williston?
At this point, Ringling's PR person stepped in and said the representative could not discuss this issue because no one was there to witness the incident. But the incident speaks for itself. An Asian elephant that Ringling Brothers says is a domesticated animal crushed its trainer. What specific action caused this tragedy may be unknown, but the lethal power of circus elephants is reaffirmed. Axel Gauthier, 51, an experienced elephant trainer, is dead. So, is it unusual for elephants to hurt people, even Asian elephants?
The majority of elephants in captivity and therefore in shows on circuses are Asian female elephants. And I would venture to say that in any given week, an elephant hurts somebody. It maybe didn't kill someone, but it maybe smacked a trainer or pushed a keeper or tripped somebody, or, you know. And this is just something that happens as a result of elephants being in captivity and as a result of people wanting to dominate these animals.
In addition to concerns about public safety, the proponents of H.R. 2929 are also focused on elephant safety.
What circuses have to do to train these animals is something that nobody would like to show their children. And what happens in circuses is that many times you may try to take the wild out of the elephant, but you never can because it is a wild beast.
A day in the life of a circus elephant when we return. Asian and African elephant herds can roam up to 60 miles a day. How does that compare with elephants in the circus? How much time each day do they spend walking freely? So are they free roaming?
Yeah, they're free roaming. The perimeter is established generally with this special tape that's electrified.
So how much time might they spend tethered on a chain line?
Whatever the feeding periods are, a couple times a day, and that's going to be about it.
To think that elephants in circus are chained when they're fed and then turned loose in this large pen where they're able to do whatever they want is nonsense. Common sense says that they're not going to spend the majority of their time running around loose in a strand of electric wire in a heavily populated, traveled, frequented area.
Former Ringling employee Tom Ryder testified in support of H.R. 2929. In a telephone interview with OLN, he elaborated upon his testimony, saying that during his 2.5-year employment with Ringling, the elephants were not only chained all night, but 90% of the time. People concerned with elephant welfare say another grueling situation for circus elephants is the travel required and the confinement in boxcars.
In order to make an elephant travel to a show or to perform in a circus is indeed by nature inhumane. They don't travel well in railroad cars. They have to be tied up, mangled up in chains.
The Humane Society's Farinato says that being forced to stand still in one position for any length of time is difficult for elephants. Their joints and muscles get stiff and sore, and standing in their own feces and urine for long periods of time can lead to toe, foot, and bone problems. There are other aspects of H.R. 2929 designed to stop practices that go beyond common mistreatment to the abusive. Animal advocates state that one of the tools used to establish dominance over an elephant is an instrument called a bull hook.
This tool I'm holding in my hand is called a bull hook or an ankus, and it's really relatively harmless. It's just to use to cue the elephants. 90% of the time the elephants will respond to a verbal command. But in case they don't or they forget what you're asking them, you just gently touch them and you remind them by touching them on the back of their foot. And as you can see, it's really dull. It's just kind of like the same thing as reins on a horse. You can just use this to guide them.
According to Richard Farinato, although some trainers allow bull hooks to dull, when they are new, they are actually very sharp. When an elephant doesn't perform or performs poorly, Farinato says the hook is used more aggressively.
That's when you chain her up and you beat her until she's back in line and back doing what you tell her to do with a simple vocal command. That's the reality of training elephants.
If you didn't intend to inflict any discomfort or pain with an elephant hook, then you wouldn't use the elephant hook. The majority of people don't have an opportunity to do an internship or an apprenticeship, and what happens is an overuse of the hook, a misuse of the hook. And then the hook is actually used as a weapon.
In Ringling Brothers' animal care pamphlets, it states that bull hooks are to be used only to direct the elephants. Nevertheless, it appears some Ringling employees utilize the bull hook in ways contrary to the given guidelines.
After my 3 years working with elephants in the circus, I can tell you that they live in a confinement and they are beaten all the time when they do not perform properly. When I became disturbed about the treatment of the elephants' continual beating, I was told that's discipline.
Again, elaborating upon his testimony, Mr. Ryder said there is so much abuse at Ringling that the only day the elephants are not beaten is Saturday, when, after a day of back-to-back shows, the crew is too tired. And what happens after the training and performance years are over? What do circuses do for their elephants that have given so much of themselves to entertaining humans all their lives?
Come on, Asia, move up.
Ringling's elephants are retired to its Williston facility in Florida.
The animals are put out to enjoy their golden years in essentially a form of well cared for and well-maintained retirement.
When OLN attempted to obtain inspection reports of the Williston facility, we were told by the USDA that certain documents were not available because the Ringling Brothers elephant facilities are currently under 2 investigations. Ringling says they don't know anything about any investigations, but they will cooperate fully. They also told OLN that Williston is a 10-acre facility that houses 13 elephants. The elephants are in outside corrals during the daytime. Ringling did not confirm before this show aired if the elephants are chained at night.
Circus will say, oh, we have our own retirement homes for animals. You can't get in to see them. They're not open to the public. There's no way to check on them.
In contrast to 10 acres for 13 elephants, which are corralled during the day, there is another retirement facility in Tennessee committed to having 10 acres for each elephant, and the elephants are allowed to roam freely. The Elephant Sanctuary, southwest of Nashville, is 800 acres of farmland and woods set aside for the retirement of female Asian elephants. It is run by Carol Buckley and Scott Blay, 2 former elephant handlers whose lifelong commitment to these noble creatures is open and obvious.
Carol Buckley has said that she will set a maximum number based on the acreage that she has to work with because she wants to provide each animal with at least 8 to 10 acres of space of its own. That's revolutionary.
Carol Buckley performed with her elephant Tara in small circuses for 20 years until it was time for Tara to retire. When she looked around for a place to retire Tara, Carol couldn't find a suitable home, so she decided to create one herself. Along with Scott, Carol has designed a state-of-the-art facility, heated barns, and an 8-foot-high perimeter fence that allows the elephants their privacy and ensures public safety. The elephants play in the mud, swim in the pond, and break down small trees just for fun. They are fed a well-rounded diet, bathed, never chained, never forced to travel or perform, and allowed the versatility of 800 acres of this Tennessee mountain range.
It's a very diverse habitat, which is important for elephants because they're highly intelligent, they bore easily. We should give them some resemblance of what their life would be.
The air trembles as the sanctuary elephants vocalize to one another in a complex language we cannot hear nor ever fully comprehend.
Elephants communicate with infrasound, as we know, so they're always in touch with their family, and they can come back to their family whenever they want to, and they do. So elephants have loved ones that last a lifetime, just like humans. They have emotions that are absolutely identical to us. They have the same sense of family, the same sense of death.
This kind of a situation is a model that we should all be looking at in terms of elephants, if we have to keep elephants in captivity. And if, in fact, elephants come out of circus in any great numbers, this is the kind of situation that we need to move to.
What would happen to circuses if the elephants were barred from performance altogether?
The circus is a completely safe, family-oriented form of entertainment that provides an awful lot of inspiration and education. And why should we deny the citizens of this country this wonderful form of traditional entertainment?
Elephants are noble, dignified, deliberate, intelligent, feeling and emotional animals. You don't see any of that when you see an elephant march around the ring with a headdress and a blanket on.
Circuses without animals are doing just as well as circuses with animals. So to say that you got to have animals in circuses in order to make them profitable is no longer true.
Ringling itself even has a new circus it recently started called Kaleidoscape that has no wild animal acts.
There's nothing that says you have to have animals. It's simply been a tradition. Traditions change.
The circus has always asked us to suspend disbelief. In fact, P.T. Barnum, the historic impresario of the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, the self-proclaimed greatest show on earth, built his business on the greater fool theory, and his philosophy, there's a sucker born every minute. Without knowledge, we're all suckers, all easily duped by hype and spectacle. That's how P.T. Barnum filled the big top then. And if we don't take a closer look at the welfare of circus animals now, it's also how the big top is being filled today. For Earth Rescue, I'm Greg Lewis.